All right. Hey, everybody. Back again with another one for the day. Happy Sunday to you. Going to be drawing. Um, Bear with me here while I share this over to the old page. Um, going to be drawing Sunspot from X Force. So, this is one of my fan favorite books. Love this thing. Have always loved these characters. Thought it was ridiculous that they would. It was always funny to me. I thought it was ridiculous that Marvel put him in a red mask and his face was blacked out. Doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. That's always just cracked me up. Um, a lot of people get finicky about the Hulk's pants not tearing off, and they explain that away with being MC Hammer stretchy. If you don't know who MC Hammer is, I'm sorry. You'll have to look him up and YouTube him. Check out his work in the 1990s for music, and you'll find out exactly who he is. You can Google a song called "Can't Touch This," and Too Legit, you'll be fine. You'll find him. So that reveals my age. But this character used to have a yellow mask when he had an egg suit with the New Mutants, the original New Mutants team, and before they became X Force. And then he had a red mask with a variation of a red or yellow mask, depending on the costume at the time. He would have a red or yellow mask on his face, Robin style, but it was old school where they would tie it around his head. He would tie it around his head, and it had the sash around it. The old bandit or gangster style mask. And the ironic thing is his whole body is blacked out when he's powered up, so you can't see his face. He is a silhouette of the sun, and it just it was ridiculous. I mean, not that anything in comics isn't to some extent because it's fantasy, but I mean, come on, it's just things like that stick out as sore thumbs. Um, you know, I'm not knocking Fabian or I think Tom DeFalco was still on at that point. I'm not knocking their editorial decisions. I just find it kind of kooky when things like that come along, and it's just always been something that bothered me to no end. I don't know if they added the mask just for a burst of color so that you could see his face or what, but it was a stickler for me. But anyway, yeah, this character is awesome. He, like I said, he embodies the power of the sun, and don't confuse him with Sunfire. If you're doing some research on the X-Men, don't confuse this guy with Sunfire, which is actually an X-Men character, not an X-Force character. And he's Japanese in origin, so you will definitely want to pay close attention to that. You'll know him because he's got the red and white costume a lot of times, or the Age of Apocalypse version had the burnt version with the almost hockey style mask incarnation. So check them out, and yeah, it's definitely a different character. But I used to draw this guy. When I was a kid, I wanted to draw X Force, and I was hooked into X Force really hard, and I was hooked into the New Warriors really, really badly. I even made my own fan comics of Night Thrasher for a while, and made a couple of different submissions for Marvel to give me a job with drawing X Force as well, but they didn't accept submissions then, at the time. That's right when they killed the submissions. And they brought them back in the mid 90s. Then they killed them again. Then they brought them back in 2000. Then they killed them again. And yeah, now it's pretty much impossible to get in through submissions at all. And a lot of them will tell you that they didn't make it through, you know, they didn't make any hires through the submissions office. But the funny thing is they put it as we've never made any hires off of submissions. But yet you hear people like Todd McFarlane say, well, I submitted 208 times and that's how I got in. Well, the thing is, though, if you hear Marvel tell it, they'll tell you flat out, we don't take submissions. So there's a conflict there. But the thing is Todd sent them to the editors directly rather than the submissions department that legitimately did not have any successful track record with getting hired hands into the industry from that. They gave a lot of critiques, a lot of fan-based stuff, a lot of fan-based response, but they did not get any hires that way, unfortunately. So that's why they don't do that now. I think CB still takes emails, but he's on the road, so he won't respond. I sent something to him, I think, 5 years ago just to feel him out. And then I sent something again a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, either time they have not responded. And I don't know, maybe they think I'm a sucky artist. I don't know. But I've had discussions with people that think that I may have been blacklisted for some reason, which there's no reason for me to do that except for the fact that they may have heard me say something that they took derogatory against Marvel on my old podcast, the Comic Kickstarter original series, the Volume 1. Bob Garr and I used to talk about the independent stuff, and we used to tell people, don't bother with submitting to Marvel or DC because they're not going to accept you anyway. And, if Marvel took it that way, I apologize because that's not the way I intended it. But, since they're shutting down now, it's not really going to be relevant anyway because Disney's isolated them and shut them down. So in 2019, they will be no more as the present form of comics as far as I understand. But I'm an independent maker, so it doesn't matter. I'm an independent comic creator, so I really don't have that worry. But anyway, yeah, I was in love with this character for a long time. This entire title and all the characters involved. Even though a lot of people pick on Rob Liefeld about it, the dude still set an industry standard for action comics at the time. And because of the fact that he was so diverse and nobody else was doing what he was doing, he would show blood in the comic books. He wouldn't put the coat on his books. He wouldn't kowtow to the editors. I really dug that. McFarlane, the same thing. He was always in, and I'm not having an image love fest here or anything weird like that. I'm just saying that, those guys bucked the system for a reason. And it's because of that I am in comics because I followed the old great creators of, back in the day, and I'm talking the legitimate high-end artists that performed back in the 70s and 80s, especially. But, Neil Adams and you got all those guys. John Romita was still kicking around books at the time. John Romita Jr. got big in the mid 80s. Artists that were really doing stuff, Art Thibert and John Byrne and a couple of the, all the others that everybody knows. I just really got hooked into that and was all about creating comics that people wanted to read, but with a new faction. It was all about raising the bar, and they influenced me to do a lot of that. Granted, the old dogs were, Jack Kirby was in there, and he, one of the coolest things that I ever heard him say was, if you're going to create comics, create them for yourself first, because of the fact that if you don't, you won't like your stuff at the end of the day. And, there's that famous quote of, sit down, do the art, and then you're done. Well, as a side note story, I talked to I was in search of some people this week to help pick up some slack on my work because of the fact that I'm doing so much, because I do everything on these books that I work on, and I'm trying to get my staff built back up so that I can get these books knocked out. Because I've had teams before and everything worked out, they ran their contracts, and then that was the end of it. And I wanted to get those books back out there, so I was worried about the diamond thing, the industry standard, and all that. But I've been looking to get a colorist on board, a couple of colorists, and when I talked to them, I'm not going to say anybody's names particularly, but the common thread was, we only work so many pages a week, and we only do this and that and the other. And I was just like, really? It was depressing to find out that there's so many colorists out there, and so many, anybody in general, not just colorists specifically, but anybody in general that says, well, I don't, I'd have to work 16 hours a day for that, or I'd have to work 12 hours a day, or I'd have to knock out this, or I'd have to knock out that, and that's too much work. And, it's crazy, because they were talking 8 to 10 to 12 weeks to do the coloring for a book. And the rendering on this stuff wasn't that heavy. I find that just kind of, for a lack of a better term, lazy, Granted, I'm not going on a rant or anything. I just find it that the work ethic is all about the paycheck. And, with Marvel falling off, people need to take a different perspective, because they're not going to make it in comics if they're not willing to produce. If you're not willing to put in the time and the effort to produce a comic book as to what it takes, which takes way more effort than you think, if that's your mindset, then you're going to have a problem when it comes up to the publication. Because I had one guy even tell me, flat out, and like I said, I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but I had one guy tell me flat out that, well, I wouldn't even do that much effort for a Marvel project. I was like, well, then you're not going to get one. Been there, done that. You're not going to get one, because an editor is going to laugh at you if you can't come through with the pages on time in a monthly manner, because of the fact. So, you got to think about your production process. But anyway, as far as this goes, I used to love these characters, and I used to draw them all the time. And whenever they changed the costume, I'd be like, dang it, because I'd have to go and learn it all over again, and have to learn the new format or whatever, and the new look and whatever. Because when it changed over from Rob Liefeld to that Todd McFarlane issue where he jumped on for a little bit, I think it was issue 4 or 5, he jumped in there for a special issue and changed everything up and messed me up 10 ways from Sunday. And then when I got back on, because Rob came back the next issue and everything went back to normal, I was like, wow, thank goodness. I'm not going to be able to, no offense to Todd, of course, but it's the fact that he changed everything up in the transition of his book. And it looked phenomenal, because it was a 2-part crossover that he and Rob had worked on for the Juggernaut to come in, and they introduced the Juggernaut into the fold, and he came and had a big fight with Warpath, and it was mind-blowing stuff for that. And matter of fact, I think it was a landscape book. And if you don't know what landscape is offhand, that's where they turn it broadside. Instead of having the vertical be the mass, it was landscaped like this. So that's why you got that. And, those fight scenes were just insane. But, yeah, it was a big move. And when I got a hold of the Greg Capullo stuff, when he took over, man, that was just nuts. The girls looked alive, and everybody just changed. It was phenomenal. It had a depth to it that even back then, that he would become the artist he was going to become and move into that signature style. Which, whether you like him or not, if you're a fan of his stuff or not, the dude had made a landmark move on comic books because of the style that he has. And that was an artist. He and Art Thibert really, really heavily influenced me in that manner. I'm getting a lot of pop-ups here. I'm trying to make sure that tech's not a problem. Okay. Sorry about that. There was an interruption. I had to check. I wanted to make sure and make another tab to make sure that the messages I were getting saying that you guys were still there. I guess I could have just asked, but it's what it is. So it's Sunday, man. It's Sunday. Um, Speaking of which, I've been inking all day and all night, matter of fact, and working on getting the old comic book up and moving. Now, being so small here and being blacked out, it's got kind of a animated manga look back there in the face, which I'm okay with. Bear with me on it because of the fact that my head was hitting the lamp here. But bear with me because of the fact that what's going on is I wanted to keep it clean because it's going to be blacked out anyway. And that gives me the clean ridges to do all the cool, Venom style highlights, because that's exactly what we're going to do with this guy. Is I'm going to shape him out that way. Why are you going to do that? Because I can. So I'm going to draw in this X here, and I want to see how I want to put it. So there's our center line. There's our X. I don't want to put that too short. There, cool. Yay. Alrighty. I want to curve that a little more. That's why I thin that out. I know guys that are really strict about that, and they'll be busting my chops here later. You didn't draw it right, man. So, yeah. And I got asked the other day if I would do more action poses. So that's why we're getting this one rather than just another close-up, tapping on the glass type. I wanted to back it up a little bit and give it some room so it could breathe and we could draw in some details. So that's why we have this going on. Thank you for that. So you guys are watching. You let me know. It's very cool. I appreciate it, and I listen. At least I try to. I've had a few conversations come up on the page, people messaging me and whatnot, and that's cool. I love talking to you guys and hanging out and whatnot, as long as I have time. And as long as it doesn't supersede my work, we're all good. I am definitely game for talking. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start shading this in. When I shade it in, I'm going to give him, like I said, I'm going to give him the Venom look. So it's going to have all of that go on to where it's going to be shaded on one side and highlights on the other, and that's it. Just very simple, very clean, because this dude's going to be blacked out. Very subtle. So I think we're going to be able to do this. And if I'd have put more time into it, I would have gone out and detailed all this ahead of time so that we could have just scribbled this out and be done with it. But also, per the same request, I have been asked to draw more of the detail live. So you guys are getting that. I hope you're getting out of it what you asked for. So, and I'm going to start doing a lot more comic stuff too, full page stuff on here. A lot more pinup size and things like that, because I've got a couple of commissions and stuff, and I'm going to be working on those on the sidelines so you guys can start seeing what's going on there as well. The Comic Kickstarter podcast, I had to delay it because of some technical issues with the podcast itself. I was having some audio problems with some of my equipment, and I had to change up. Fortunately, my microphone's not dead. I did have to change up some of the headsets and stuff like that, and some of my audio buffers. So it was a little bit of a lapse there, but I'm going to be putting that up next week. You guys will have that next Sunday, and possibly more than one time a week. If I get enough fan recognition on it and everybody likes it enough, I may actually start going a couple of times a week instead. I was going to do a daily show, but nobody liked the 20-minute format. They wanted me to go to the full hour and put in, all the info in one shot. So I was like, cool, not a problem. I enjoy that. So that won't be a problem at all. And I might even bring in a co-host or two once in a while for you guys to check out and hang out with me. So, I'll still be there, but I may bring in somebody to get a different perspective on a couple of things and, just give the other side of the coin, not just my, insight of comics and business and whatnot. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how you guys receive it and what goes on from there. You may turn me down on it. I don't know. You guys are pretty fickle sometimes, man. High maintenance bunch. High maintenance. So I'm going to start drawing this in here, and most of it, like I said, most of it's going to be black because it's so small. It'll just be blacked out, and then there'll be key elements like this spot here on the chin kind of thing to make him pop up a little bit. That little mark there on the jaw. And around here on the side of the head, I'm going to black that out because that goes right up into the hairline. Which I'm going to cheat a little bit because what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the hair, I'm going to shade it, but I'm going to make it gray when I color it instead of just black out because I want it to make an impact, and I don't like the fact that it's just like gone, if that makes sense. But again, like I said, that was crazy that he wore a mask, when his face is black. You can't see you can't tell what race or origin or whatever he is, Now, granted, Rico was, I think he was Puerto Rican. I don't hold me to that because I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've read these books. So, like I said, don't hold me to that because I'm not sure. And I don't want to disrespect anybody by not knowing and saying he's something he's not. So, we have that arm almost done. I'm going to do this forearm here. And I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to ridge this and black it out because I don't want to mess with all the anatomy, the reverse look of the anatomy in the black here. I mean, I know a lot of people can do this really well, but on a card this small, I don't want to risk it because it's just going to make it look funky. And if I put the muscles in the wrong place, you'll be like, you screwed that arm up. And I don't want to have to deal with that. So I don't want to have to deal with the shame. I really don't. I don't. And all the people that really know me up close and know that I am the nut that I am, they're all going to be going, yay, some jokes. But do the voices. We like the voices. That's just how I roll. Sorry. It is what it is. And no, I'm not going to apologize. I take it back. It's Sunday, dang it. Laugh once in a while. It's good for you. But on a serious note, though, yeah, I was inking this morning, and until about 3 a.m. Yeah, and I realized that I really do enjoy it, and I want some more time to be able to pencil and to pencil and ink. And I really enjoy comics as far as the lettering goes because that's easy for me. I really enjoy coloring as well, but yeah, I got to get some more time to do more artwork and produce this stuff for you guys and start moving forward on it. Because everybody keeps asking me. I got asked at like 2 a.m. Somebody popped on and said, "When's the comic coming out?" I'm posting the cover for Catman number 4, Catman Evolution number 4 next week. And then I have the Lone Rider book. The cover will be available for pre-orders next week as well. And like I said, I'm not pitching here. I'm just telling you when it's out to give you the answers that I get asked about. And, buy it if you want. If you don't, that's okay too. We'll just keep hanging out. It's all good. But you can't make any money if you don't sell it. That's very true. So, and this comic is going to come out, this webcomic is going to come out. Finally, I'm going to start revealing stuff on it next week once we have the coloring finished and the lettering done on it. And it's pretty close to getting out there. I'm going to start kicking that out. And you guys will get a page a day until the issue's finished. And then it will go into a print-on-demand digital. And that's how you'll be able to get it each and every month. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait, man, you're going to give it away for free and then you're going to yank it away? Yeah, I'm going to pull it off. I tell everybody to do that. When you're doing webcomics, you got to make money with them. How do you make money with webcomics? I tell everybody this flat out. If you're going to make webcomics, make webcomics. If you're going to make webcomics for production, make webcomics for production. There is a difference. I mean, this is part of my comic book universe, and this is a property that I'm going to monetize. Just letting you know now. You will be able to get it, but you won't be able to get it forever unless you're moving into the standalone comic or the subscription phase. I mean, that's the way it's going to work. I'm also working on developing a lot more properties, and I have them, copyrighted, trademarked, and even have the barcode VINs for them to publish. So, I mean, it's going to be full force. It's been a long time coming, and it's time for me to do that. But I'll still be here every day for the next foreseeable future, knocking out cards for you guys too. So, talking a little business there, giving you a little tip. If you got a comic book, start it. Don't wait for it to be in print to start it. Start it. Let people know it's there. Well, how do I make money? You make money by showing the comic book. You make money by producing the comic book and putting it out there. And you monetize it when it's done. You build a fan base, you let them have it, you build it up. And if they want to collect it, they'll buy it. If they don't want to collect it, your comic may suck. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If they don't want to buy it, then you need to entice them to buy it and show them that it's available for purchase. So, the industry is a-changing. Normally, I would do this with my 0.9 or maybe even the 7. But today, I'm doing it with the 5 here because of the fact that I just like the clean, small lines this thing is making when I shade this out. And because of the fact that it's finer and it's cleaner to erase whenever the card's done so that I don't scratch it all up. And when I ink it, it doesn't leave all that powder residue buried up in the pores of the card. Which a lot of people are going, no, don't do this. Leave it alone. Well, you know, the thing is that I'm shading it out here because I want to make sure that it's done right. And it's finished for you guys before it goes into the ink stage and totally disappears forever. Because once the ink's on there, you got to watch it. It's like getting a tattoo. It's permanent. So that's where we're at. Like I said, I'm going to knock this out real quick. Then I'm going to detail up this armor a little. And we're going to call this one and done. Now you guys are going to have to tell me with this one, because I had one lady, I don't want to get sidetracked off my point, but you guys are going to have to tell me some suggestions of what you want to see in the cards that's coming up. But I'll tell you, I had one lady actually want to buy one of my cards so she could have it exclusively and own the card as well as get a tattoo done of it. Freaked me out. Yeah, that was nuts. It was awesome, but it was still just, yeah. I was like, you want to do what? So, yeah, never expected that one to come out of it. And the funny thing is back in the day, I used to do tattoos. Not tattooing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not claiming to be a tattooer. What I'm saying is I used to draw tattoo designs. I would, because of my comic book background, I would draw, comic book characters for people back in the 90s, and they would get it, and they would get tattoos done before it was cool, man. I mean, they would just get all kinds of stuff before everybody became a fanatic about it, and comic book style tattooing, and a lot more of the new school styles came out. I would draw stuff like this all day long and do custom designs for people. I would do sit-ins and in various shops. And one of the ones that I used to work with was in Deep Ellum in Dallas, and I got to do a couple of those. And the guys that were in there would give me a little bit of money for drawing them at the end of the day, or whatever. And I was in my late teens, and we would go down there and sit, and I would just draw for hours. And as people would come in, they would ask, and I would do it. So it was a cool deal. But yeah, we're going to leave that open. I don't want him to look too much like Firelord, though, when he starts that. So let's see here. Get this one. Put a panel there. These are, I think, Shi'ar Tech, and they were very strange in the way they were made. They just had random lines and random block sections. I think it was supposed to look more techy, but it didn't. So, whatever. And I just want to add in a couple of things here and there. Okay, and we're going to do a little forearm right here, which I almost forgot. You guys almost let me forget the forearm, man. So, all right, I think we're going to call that done because I don't want to scratch that up too much. How's that looking? All right. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it, man. Let's see. Tomorrow, another X-Men or X-Force character. Not going to be part of the team, though. More of the enemy line. And no, it's not going to be another Deadpool. Did that already. Sorry, not going to do it again for a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do Gideon, which, if you don't know this guy, he is one of the characters called one of the characters from a group called the Eternals. He's supposed to be an immortal mutant from the originals timeline, as a humanoid blood descendant of what we saw in Guardians of the Galaxies, the eternal beings, the sentient beings that were supposed to be the big super guys that could hold, destroy worlds and whatnot, and hold the stones without getting jacked up and whatever. These are supposed to be their descendants in human form on Earth, or made by them, as it were. So you guys can check him out. Gideon, the dude is awesome. See you tomorrow. Thanks.